نعم خير. النهارده was a very rough day, so yeah. Sorry. هو انت ابتديت اللايف ستريم؟ ليه كده نجيب؟ طب نقول أبانا الذي. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Our dear Lord, we thank you for everything. Thank you for having this opportunity for us to learn and become closer to your kids. Thank you for entrusting us with your service. These precious kids, please God, give us the power to be an example for them, to lead them. Forgive us our sin through the intercession of Saint Mary, Archangel Michael, Pope Carolus, all the saints and martyrs who please us in the beginning. Forgive us our sins and listen to our prayers when we say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespass. Give those who trespass against us. Lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. Through Christ Jesus our Lord, for thine kingdom, power, and glory. So let me welcome Dr. Marianne Nashad. She is from Los Angeles. She is a friend of Dr. Christina Salama. I asked Christina to come. She is stuck up. She can't. She doesn't want to. So she sent us a humble one. So I really appreciate coming from all the way from Los Angeles, and we hope that it will be beneficial for everyone. Thank you.
All right. Hello. Hi. Okay, so my name is Marianne. I am a child psychologist. So I see children and teenagers, and obviously that means I see a lot of the parents because this younger generation is hard to deal with. Yeah. So we'll talk today about how we can help our kids who might be difficult in the Sunday school room. Okay. Okay. I just wanted to start off by, whenever we have these kind of talks and we have these discussions, a lot of times we are looking for the answer. I have a kid who's really disruptive. Tell me what to say to him. Tell me what to do. How should I treat him when he's being so disruptive? And we all want to know, what is the solution? What can I do when he's acting out and he's yelling and he's screaming and he's not following directions? And we all want to know the answer. And so I will tell you the answer, but before we talk about what we should do when we have kids like this, we want to talk about how we can help kids before they get to that point. So it's not that, I think sometimes this isn't the funnest conversation because we sometimes just want to know, tell me what to do to help this kid now. But we have to look at, how can I help this kid stay calm so that he doesn't get to the point where he's yelling and screaming and very disruptive to the class. So we'll have to start there, and then we'll move into how to help. Okay, so there's one thing we need to do in order for our children to pay attention, if we want our kids to pay attention, we have to have a relationship with them. For our Sunday school kids, you know, there's like 168 hours in a week, and we see them for 1 or 2 of those hours. So we have to be really intentional about building a relationship. If we can practice building a relationship with our Sunday school children, they are going to start trusting us, and it is within the relationship that children are more likely to pay attention and to want to please you. Building a relationship with our children also increases how often they're going to pay attention and want to engage in the lesson. So they can become more active participants. They will listen more and engage with us more, and they are going to be motivated to please us. And it's all with the foundation of having a relationship. You know, we know that children are often more likely to listen if they feel like you're on their side. And so we'll talk about how we can help them in that area. I think you guys know how important relationships are, so I don't have to spend so much time here. But just so that we know, having a relationship with our kids helps create an open dialogue. And especially if you guys, do we have any high school servants here? Middle school or high school? High school, yeah, God be with you. It's a tough grade, right? It's tough. Yeah, high school is, we have to build relationship with the young ones, but also as they get older. There's absolutely no incentive for them to open up to us if they feel like we're judging them. So that's a really, I think, important part of our work. And especially for high schoolers, they'll be more willing, if we have relationship with them, to give us feedback so that we could grow better, so that we could help them more, and it becomes a reciprocal relationship. Okay. So a few of you raised your hand for high school. Does that mean the rest of you are elementary? Oh, a lot of junior high? Okay. What about elementary? Oh, a lot of elementary too. Okay, so it's like split. Okay. It's only you two that are high schoolers? Okay. Okay, so yeah, we'll talk for the younger kids. So if a child feels like they have a good relationship with you, they feel like you are on their side, they are more likely to follow directions, to listen, and to reduce their disruptions. Okay. All right, and so we know the importance of relationship. We know that it's very important. What we want to do is figure out how can we build relationship. And this is not just for our Sunday school kids. This is for your children at home. This is for your partners. And you think about, how did you build a relationship with your partner, with your spouse, your children, your Sunday school children? What did you do? And so the first thing that you probably do is you spend time with them. And so a big part of what we want to do is build a relationship with our children through quality time. And I know that you guys know all this. I just wanted to really quickly mention it, that if we can make visitations to our children's home, field trips, and quality time with them, where they earn time with us, regular, then we get to know them and they get to know us, and then we get to continue to build that relationship. And remember, relationship is the foundation for all good behavior. Okay. Did you want to say anything, or should I keep going? Everything? Okay. Okay. So I just wanted to get that out of the way, because I think we all know that, and we learned it during servants prep, the importance of the visitations and field trips. So again, before we talk about how do I deal with the really difficult kid? We want to figure out, how can I set my child up in this classroom for success? How can I help him be successful? Not just successful in knowing the right answers, but how can I help him be successful behaviorally? And so we want to make sure we're setting the foundation for our children in the classroom to be set up for success. And then, if we make sure that all of that is right and we're taking care of all of that, and then we're still noticing disruptions, then we can talk about disruptions. Okay, so setting our children up for success. Children thrive off of structure and routine. It is ingrained in a child's brain to be routined. It feels very safe to the child to know what they should expect. And anytime you go off track or go off course, it can make a child very anxious or worried. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed any of your own kids or any of your Sunday school kids really struggle with change, or really struggle with transitioning from one thing to another, or struggling to, go to a new place or do something new, because it's really difficult for a child to not know what to expect. So during our first class with them, every year, when we start brand new every year, we want to set them up for success by going through rules. This should always be during our first class. We go through the class rules, and anytime you can get them to tell you what the rules should be, instead of you just telling them what the rules should be, they're more likely to listen. So if a kid is like, oh, I think we should raise our hand. Like, oh, that's great, yeah, let's write that down on our list of rules. So we encourage them to come up with the rules that they want to follow, that they think are appropriate, and then we also add rules that we think are important to be added. We want to set clear expectations for what the class is going to look like. So the rules they're supposed to follow and the structure of the class. First 10 minutes, we sing a song. Next 5 minutes, we go through a verse. Next 30 minutes, we do the lesson. Then last 15 minutes, we do an activity, for example. And we stick to that every week. But if we don't stick to that, there might be some kids who become anxious because they don't know why you changed the order. And then because they're feeling worried or anxious, they start to act out. And they start to be disruptive, and they call out, and they scream, and they get out of their chairs. And then, we look at that as misbehavior, when in fact, it might just be that they're anxious that we changed the order. And obviously we have to be flexible. Sometimes we have to change the order. So, more often than not, we'll try to do this. Okay, the first class, the other thing that we like to do is I like to ask the kids, what is your favorite toy? Less than $2. What's your favorite snack or candy? What's your favorite color? We want to know all of this information about them. Because I use this information, me and my Sunday school servants who we teach 4th and 5th grade, we take this information and then we will purchase all of the things that they like. So if they say, oh, we like squishy balls, or we like, something that's cheap or more affordable, and we like, Sour Patch Kids or whatever candy, and we'll have that on hand, and then we'll put it in a prize box, and they can win it, so that I know that they're gonna want to do the right thing. I have things that they like. So we have to put them in a position to earn rewards. This is what younger children especially, they are very incentivized to win rewards. They really, really want to win rewards. And so we can help them behave better by rewarding them to behave better. And then the final thing during that first class is we talk with them about what they need to do to win the rewards. So if you follow the directions that you came up with as a class, if you raise your hand and whatever those directions were, if you answer questions, if I see you behaving, etc., etc., then you can win a reward. And we talk with them about how. So now we're setting them up to want to behave better because we are rewarding them to behave better. And I know, I'll talk to parents a lot of times. They have this, I think we all do, have this thing where it's like, I want my child to want to behave good. I don't want to have to bribe them into behaving good. And I understand that. One-on-one, and when you're kind of doing one-on-one in the home and you want them to clean up after themselves or put their clothes away, that's understandable. You don't have to bribe them. You don't have to reward them. But when we're in a classroom setting and you have 20 kids or 30 kids or however many kids, we know that in the classroom this can be very helpful. So rewarding can be just kind of the easier and helpful way to help a class stay calm. Okay, so again, so children are willing to work if they're going to be rewarded for it, especially if you have a kid, and you might not know whether you do or not, but especially if you have a kid with ADHD or autism, if you've heard of these diagnoses, or if parents have told you about some of these diagnoses, this really applies. So we really want to make sure we're rewarding our children for good behavior. And so we'll tell them at the start of class, if you follow the rules, if you raise your hand and answer a question, even if the answer is wrong. What we do is we have all of the children's names written down. So in this example, John, Sarah, Alex, Emily, everyone's names written down. And we have one servant who, for the entire class, just stands next to the board with their names, and every time they follow a rule, they answer a question, even if it's wrong, and you could tell that they're trying, we'll put a check mark or a tally, check mark or a tally. And children love this. Children love it, especially if they know that whoever gets the most check marks at the end is going to get a prize from the prize box, because I put their favorite toy in the prize box, remember? So this becomes really fun for the younger kids. And it makes them want to follow instructions and follow directions a little bit more, because they know that there can be a prize. And we used to do this for like 10 years, and we just stopped doing it this year. We also used to have a prize box, we used to do like marbles. So check marks were for each individual student, and then we would have marbles for the whole class. So if the whole class at one point in time is behaving really well, we'd put a marble in like a bucket. And if they got a certain number of marbles, then we would all go on a field trip together. Now they're being rewarded, and we get to build a relationship. So it's a 2-in-1. That works nicely for them. So we know that often children's misbehavior comes from them being bored. They're bored, they found something else that's more exciting, like their friend that's sitting right next to them, and they want to talk to their friend a little bit more. So they're bored and they're distracted. And so what we want to do is set them up for success. And so we'll do that by making the lessons really engaging, really exciting. We'll make it active for them so that they can be involved, because that feels really fun to them, and they'll be more likely to pay attention, as opposed to get bored and then Now they're talking to their friend. And if you know that children are getting easily distracted, maybe we want to consider implementing a seating chart. I know we don't love the idea because it's not real school, but a seating chart might be helpful if you know that David and John every day, every Sunday, they talk and they make each other, more distracted, and they talk and they play together. So we might just from the beginning of class say, David, I'd really love if you could sit over here, and John, I'd love if you could sit over here. And we'll do it beforehand as a way to, we don't want to embarrass them, because I think sometimes, and I remember this in the beginning, a long time ago, where it would be out of our frustration of them talking and being disruptive, we kind of go, David, John, you over there and you over there, right? And our own frustration pushes them away, and now we've disrupted the class with our own anger. So if we could just set the seating chart and say, oh, I know, today you wish you could sit with your friends today. Today, this is where we're sitting. Kind of set it up that way for kids, so that children really learn through a positive relationship and through positive experiences. They don't learn through punishment. They will change their behavior for like 3 minutes after the punishment because we just punished them, but it doesn't last. And so we don't want to keep resorting to punishment. We want to keep resorting to positive behavior. And so how else can we set our kids up for success? If you have multiple teachers in each class, which I think you do, you probably have more than one servant in each class, we can divide and conquer. So one servant is giving the lesson. The other servant is doing the reward chart, check marks. The other servant is walking around while the kids are listening and just making sure that everybody is focusing and paying attention. And so, sometimes we notice that one servant is doing the lesson and everyone else is kind of relaxing for the week. And I understand. But I think it could be helpful, especially if you have a disruptive classroom of kids who are really rowdy, and the servant is also, the servant is giving the lesson and she's also trying to control the kids. That's really hard. So it could be nice and helpful if we separate. Okay. And so what we'll do now is talk about how we can talk to kids in a way. You guys notice that a lot of the disruption is things that we need to do in advance, right? Like it's more about us and what we need to do and how to set up the classroom in advance. So I know that, anyway. Okay, so let's talk about how to talk to kids so that they will listen. And again, all of this is before they become disruptive, so that we can set a classroom experience that's calm and safe and fun for them. So we will engage in positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement just means we're praising them. So anytime they do something good or right, or you see them behaving, I really appreciate how you're sitting nicely today. Thank you for staying quiet even when all of your other friends are talking. And you're just acknowledging their good behavior. That makes them feel really good. And kids who feel good behave good. So we want to make sure we're encouraging them with our words. And then obviously this is also, I think for the younger the child, the more that praise is the biggest gift you could give them. Like I could give them a $20 gift certificate to something, or I could say, oh, I really appreciate how you helped me pass out all the crayons today. That to them is worth more, the gift certificate, right? That matters more. So we'll reward them in that way. Okay. The other thing we want to do is we want to be engaging so that they are more likely to pay attention. When we talk to them, we want to make sure that we are using positive statements. So I know this sounds kind of not important. I know it sounds unimportant, but the way that we speak really matters. If we could take the words don't and no out of our vocabulary and turn it into a positive, that actually goes a long way for a child, especially a younger child. So for example, if I say stop running, they will stop running for 10 seconds, and then they're going to start running again. And the reason why is because, I know it doesn't make sense to adults, but the reason why kids do it is because a child, when you tell them don't run, a child is like, okay, so what should I do instead? You're telling me don't run. What do you want me to do instead? To us, we're like, obviously walk. That's what I want you to do. Obviously, I want you to walk. But to a child, they don't understand what they should do instead. And so they keep running because you didn't tell them otherwise. So we want to tell them what to do. Instead of stop yelling, we're going to say we're using our inside voices. Instead of don't run, we're going to say, we're going to walk in this classroom. We're telling them what to do so we could set them up for success. Okay, we're also going to be very specific with them. Oh, that's small. We're going to be very specific with them. So instead of behave, I need everyone to behave in here, or I need everyone to settle down, or let's go, or be a good boy, be a good girl today. That doesn't mean anything to a child. They actually don't know what does it mean to be a good boy? What is a good boy? I don't think they know. I don't think we know. We just think being a good boy means like behave, right? But even behave, what does behave mean? They have no idea. So when we say behave, we want to be very specific. If I mean, please sit down quietly in this chair, and that's what behave means, then that's what I should say. Please sit down quietly in this chair. So now they know they have a task. I have to sit down, I have to close my mouth. That's my task, and that means that I behaved. So you're giving them an opportunity to succeed because you're telling them specifically what to do. This is an important one. Having a normal tone of voice is, I think, a really important one. There's a difference between come inside for class to begin and get in here now. Get in here. You know, and I don't think that we're screaming like that, but I think when we have 20 kids who are all rowdy, we try to raise our voice so they can hear us. And so it becomes difficult because they might be interpreting that as screaming and yelling. So what we could do instead, if you have 3 servants or 4 servants and you have 20 kids, each servant goes to 5 kids and tap them on their, anytime you tap a kid on their arm, something like this, safe touch like this, they are able to orient themselves to you and focus on you because they're so distracted around everything that's around them. So if you can tap them here and get their attention and you say, it's time for class, then they go. And so it's more work on our part, but we know that this can be helpful to them in the classroom. I'll skip this. Okay. So, I know it's a lot of things I asked you guys to do. So, let's say you guys have done all of those things. You have classroom rules, you have them, and I think I forgot to mention, anytime you can incorporate a visual aid, it's always going to be better. Visual aids are always going to be easier for a child to listen to you, or to listen to direction as opposed to just hearing you. So let's say you've done all the things. You have the rules, you make the environment, you talk to them in this calm way, you do all of the things that we've talked about doing, and you're still noticing kids being disruptive. Then what? So these are strategies that teachers use in classrooms all over the world. And we know that they work just based off of the psychology of a child. So this is the list of things we'll do. So let's imagine now you have a disruptive child who's struggling to pay attention, who's struggling to focus, who's getting easily distracted. He's talking to his friends in class, and you're having a really hard time getting him to focus. Okay, so the first thing that we can try to help them is give them nonverbal cues. So we won't say anything to them, but we will come up with some sort of a cue. I don't know how to say cue in Arabic. We'll come up with a cue so that they know that they're being disruptive. So for example, Johnny keeps talking out in class. I'm gonna talk to Johnny after the class, and I'm gonna be fun and playful with him. And I'm gonna say, Johnny, I know you love sitting next to Bishoy. I know you love it. You love hanging out with him. He's such a good friend to you. I know that it's also important that we pay attention in class. And so when I notice you get distracted, do you notice you get distracted? We're gonna have a conversation with him. When I notice you get distracted, I'm gonna do a sign. And whenever I do the sign, that means I notice you get distracted, and I want you to practice bringing your attention back to the lesson. What sign should we come up with? And maybe, maybe the sign is we go like this. Or maybe the sign is we tap our head, or some fun, playful sign. So we have to have a conversation with the kids in this case. Okay, another thing we can do if we notice a lot of distraction or disruption, we might have to separate the kids. We already talked about this as far as a seating chart. And it doesn't have to be the way it is in school, but we just kind of say, okay, girls, boy, girl, just so that all the girls aren't sitting together and all the boys aren't sitting together. So especially if they're younger, it makes it easier because they usually just want to sit with their girlfriends or the friends of the boys. So we might separate them. Another thing we can do if a child is disruptive, either the person giving the lesson or one of the other servants that's available will go and just stand next to the student. Especially if they're sitting next to someone who's distracting them and they're getting disrupted, I pull up a chair and I sit in between the two of them. So you could put yourself next to them or in between them. I only do that for the super young kids, like 4th and 5th grade, where I'll sit next to them. But you just stand and you walk around because they don't want to get in trouble. And if they feel like you're walking towards them, they're like, oh, we have to be quiet, and so they'll start to calm down and not talk as much. One of the other things that might be really helpful for kids, does anyone know what the attention span of an elementary school student is? It feels like that, yeah. He said 2 minutes? Yeah, about, and it's a range, right? Yeah, so about 10, 12 minutes. What about for middle school? What's their attention span? 10 minutes? Yeah, it's about 13, 14 minutes, yeah. And high school? High school is about 20. So we might need, I think all of our Sunday school classes for sure are longer than 20 minutes, for sure, right? So we might need to put some breaks in there for them. And sometimes for our kids, especially at the 10-minute mark or 15-minute mark, they're starting to get really just restless. Even though we're doing something fun, I just honestly, I make them stand up and they do jumping jacks. They like doing it because it gets their energy out. They get to do it with their friends. This is obviously not going to work for all ages, but we might need to do, okay, 5-minute brain break, and then we'll come back and focus again. So our Sunday school classes are sometimes an hour and a half, up to an hour and a half. They could be anywhere. We're about 45 minutes in LA, but you guys might be anywhere between 45 minutes and an hour and a half. So we might need to give them those breaks, especially the young ones, if you're doing kindergarten, preschool. Even if they're having a lot of fun, like you're singing, they still need a break. Okay. Redirection, again, so if you notice they're getting distracted, especially if they have something in their hand or somebody is distracting them, gently bring their attention back to the speaker. One of the ways that I like to do it for our kids, there's something called mindfulness. So mindfulness is when you pay attention to what's happening right now using your 5 senses. So if a kid is starting to get distracted, I will point to them, and it's kind of a fun game, and I'll say, quick, look around me, tell me one red thing you see. And then they'll have to focus, and they'll be like, oh, your nail. Like, yeah, great, okay. You, look at me. Okay, tell me one green thing you see. And so maybe it's not, I have to be aware, or I would say brown to you, right? Because I want you to look in my area. But I'm forcing you in a playful way to focus around me. So we can practice that with children who are looking in the back of the room while you're giving the talk or the lesson up there. So we want to help them refocus their attention. Again, we talked about this, individual support. We might need to meet with the kids who are struggling the most. I don't know if any of you have ever heard the phrase before, the kids who need the most love ask for it in the most unloving ways. That's really sad when you think about it. So the kids who are the most disruptive, who are not paying attention, they're the ones that are maybe struggling with something, and something might be going on. So we want to meet with them and actually build more relationship with them, be more kind to them, and maybe come up with some individual tasks, just like we gave the example, hey, I notice you get really, distracted in class. This will be our sign, or this will be our sign, and it's just between you and me. And so we might teach them just so that they feel, I think if they feel more special, they'll want to engage more. Okay, and so those were kind of new things we can do. These are just a reminder of what we talked about in the beginning, which is, remember, we know this stuff works. Establish clear rules, be consistent, so every session, every class is gonna look the same or pretty similar. You're gonna positively reinforce them and praise them, even when they're misbehaving. You're gonna find something good about them that they're doing. You're going to engage them, and that's going to be through your teaching. So we always have to have a visual aid, and then seat them separately. So those are reminders, if that's an issue for you guys. Okay. And this is a really important point here about the way that we are as the servants in the class. This becomes really important. We must remain calm in the face of their disruptions, that they're talking while the servant is talking, or they're struggling to pay attention, or they can't focus, or they're getting distracted. Sometimes we might feel upset or angry about it, or frustrated. It's going to be so important for us to deep breathe and keep ourselves calm and say, you're really struggling to pay attention today. And help them calm down by us sharing our calm with them. It's always, I think, interesting when we see a kid who's really, really escalated, who's really angry and upset, and then we yell at them to calm down. They actually just stay escalated. An escalated adult can't de-escalate an escalated child, you know? All right. Okay, and then one final thing, and when we're on our end here, now one final thing. So if you're doing all of those things and you are setting them up for success, and then you're helping them when they struggle by doing some of those things we just talked about, we can do one more thing. I want to give you a script, and this is going to work for everyone, but all the children, but obviously if you're not going to use this the same way for a child, like an elementary school, as you would for high school. So what we want to do is anytime we can acknowledge a child's feelings or desires or wishes, anytime you can do one of those three things, it will help them calm down pretty immediately. So let's say, like, if I'll give you two examples and you tell me which one you would want to hear. Okay, if you came home from a long day of work and you were really frustrated because something bad happened at work, and you're just really frustrated and you're like, oh, I had the worst day today. And you come home and your partner's like, just calm down, get over it. It's not that big of a deal. Like, tomorrow's a new day, you're fine, you're fine. Or if you had a really stressful day at work and then you came home and you're like, man, I had such a stressful day today, it was so hard. And your partner was like, oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. Would you like to talk about it? You know, or tell me more, or whatever the case is. Does one of them sound, and obviously it does, right? Does one of them sound a little bit more rejecting than the other? As a third option. Well, just quit then. Who cares? Yeah, you sound very comforting. So, you know, anytime we can acknowledge a person's behavior, or their feelings, their behaviors, their desire, you're automatically going to get them to calm down. Automatically. I would encourage us to really think about how often we dismiss other people's feelings and behaviors and thoughts and desires. So I'll give you some examples. Like, a kid is like, I want this toy. And then we're like, just as a parent, right? We're like, I just bought you this toy. What do you mean you want this toy? I just got you something yesterday. I invalidated them, right? I didn't acknowledge their feeling. Especially a young child. If you guys are treating 5-year-olds and less, serving 5-year-olds and less, 5-year-olds only actually use the right side of their brain. I don't know if you guys remember this from high school science, that we have the left side of the brain, the right side of the brain. Left side, anyone remember what that's responsible for? Left brain? What was that? Yeah, thinking, logic, all of that. Thinking and logic is all in the left brain. What about right brain? What is that responsible for? Does anyone know? What was that? Emotions and creativity, yeah. Emotions and creativity. That's right brain. For the first 5 years of life, children only use their right brain. Their left brain is not developed. So that's why we teach them everything through song and dance and coloring, because it's all creative. They don't actually have logic. So when a child is like, I want another toy, I want more candy, and we try to use logic with them, I just bought you candy. I just got you a toy. What do you mean? They don't get it. They don't understand what you mean. They don't understand why you're so upset with them for wanting more candy. But if we were to say, oh, you wish I could give you more candy, You really want more candy. I can't give you more. But I'm acknowledging their feeling. That can help them calm down. So, acknowledging a person's feeling. This is for children and adults. Acknowledging their feelings is the first thing we do. This is 3 steps. This is going to work 80% of the time you have a kid who is disruptive. Anytime there's a kid and you need to set a limit with them, can I please go and get a cup of water and come back to class? Can I please sit next to my friend David? And I keep having to say no. Can I please? Or they'll, they want to play with the toy. We have a whole bunch of toys because we're renting our room from another room, another teacher. So we have all of these toys that we don't want to be there. But these kids, every week, they come with the toy and they want to play with the car and there's a basketball and there's all of these things. So we can't take out all the toys. Instead, we have to learn how to say no in a way that they'll understand. And this will work 80 to 90% of the time. So let me tell you the structure. It's 3 sentences. The first sentence is acknowledging their feeling. So, you really want to play with the toy. You really wish you could sit next to your friend. You're feeling really disappointed that I took your phone from you. Whatever the feeling or desire is, you're just going to name it. Then the second thing you're going to do is you're going to set a limit. You're going to say, phones are not for Sunday school. Or, what is the example I gave here? You're really enjoying talking with your friend. That's the desire. You really want to talk with your friend more. It's important that you listen to the lesson. So we're going to tell them what the rule is. And then we'll give them a target. We're going to give them an alternative of something they can do. If you want to talk to David, I will make sure that at the end, when we're all packing up and we're all getting out of here, that you and David can talk together. You're giving them the opportunity to do that with their friend. You can't do it in class. You can't do it right now. I know you wish you could. It would be so fun if you could. But the class time is for listening to the lesson. And so if you want to talk to your friend, you can talk to him after. Or you wish you could stay seated while we're praying together. You really want to stay seated. Instead of what we usually do, which is stand up, it's time for prayer, we have to get up, let's go. We're kind of just in this rush, especially towards the end. We'll say, you really wish you could stay seated. Prayer means we stand up. If you want to sit down, you could sit down right after we're done praying. And then they're going to be like, no, I don't wanna. I know, I hear you. You don't want to stand up. You wish you could sit down. It's time for prayer. Prayer means we stand up. And I repeat this. And I will tell you, I know this sounds really basic, and I know you feel like you probably have already tried this to a certain degree, and you might even think it's not going to work. I guarantee you. I will give you $1 if it doesn't work. This works, and it works very often, and it works particularly well for the younger kids. Obviously, you're not going to talk in this very robotic way to high schoolers, right? You're not going to talk this way to high schoolers. But it would be good to also acknowledge the high schoolers' feeling and their desire and their wish, and to validate them and to let them know you get their experience. And if there's something you need to do to set a limit, to say no to them, then you can, But I like to do this acknowledge the child's feeling or wants. I do that all the time. That's just how I talk all the time. So sometimes I don't even do the C and the T. But this works, and this is how to build relationship, and this is how to get them to shift their behavior if we need them to. All right. Okay, that's all I have for you. That's all I got. Okay. Anything else? No? Okay.
Any question, you guys? Any question? واحد صعيدي هنا في You know what Said is?
Um, so most of the stuff that you talked about, we do implement it in our classroom. However, we have about 3 kids. I call them clowns. So clowns, yeah, the monkeys. Uh, no matter what we do, they keep acting out. So we tried to separate them. We did, and last week we did the one you talked about, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement. However, one of the kid and he calmed down, and then one kid just lighted the bomb, and he started laughing. Once he laughs, the whole class starts laughing. No matter what we do for rules, he starts. I don't know what he does, but he just once he laughs, all the rules gets broken. Everybody starts laughing. How do you think we can treat and work around the kid? For sure, we did visitation. I understood what he goes through, so we understood his life circumstances that puts him into a certain category. Yet, for this specific kid and another kid, they are kind of whatever we do, once they look at each other or to their peers from far away, they start laughing for no reason, and the whole class goes away. So I need your inputs.
Yeah,
Thank
how
you.
old are they? What grade? Okay, sixth or eighth or seventh? Seven and eight. Okay. Yeah, it's tough, right? Because it's like there's nothing funny, and they're just breaking out and laughing, and that just means are they feeding off of each other? These two kids? Okay, but not all the time. So it doesn't. They don't need each other to start laughing. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And you've had a conversation with them about it? And how did that go? Yeah. Yeah. So there might have to be a situation where and I know it sounds backwards, but we're going to have to overly reinforce them, overly reward them. So punishment is never the solution. And I know it sounds odd because we all grew up being punished, right? So for us, punishment worked. But it doesn't actually create long lasting change. It creates very short term change that is they'll go back to being exactly how they were the following week. So we're gonna probably have to increase the rewards. So we have a kid who's similar, and so he and I have talked, and we've talked separately outside of the classroom, and I had to learn, for example, if there is no, do you guys have a reward system in the class? Who wants to go where? Okay. Okay. I would really encourage you to try the reward chart that we talked about, where you have all the names on the board, and then they get check marks for behaving well. And every time he behaves well, or these two kids, let's say it's Jonathan and Justin, every single time and it's going to be like he's sitting there, and you can tell he's gonna misbehave next. You're gonna say, "Oh, Jonathan, I appreciate how you're not, or I appreciate the way that you're sitting quietly, check mark." And now he's like, "Oh, cool, check mark." We're gonna overly reinforce him. Same thing with Justin, right? So any moment, any small moment that you notice they are sitting quietly, or they're not engaging in laughter or disruption or anything like that. Every single one of those moments, check mark, and you might actually kind of rig the system so that they win the prize for the day. Because remember, everyone's name is on the board. Whoever gets the most prizes, or whoever gets the most check marks for the day is going to be the winner. They get a prize from the prize box, and you're gonna know that what they like is in the prize box because you've already asked all the kids, what do you guys like? You bought it and you put it in the prize box. So it's going to be incentivizing for them, and it has to be done on a week-to-week basis. So I almost want one of the servants to just kind of be on lookout while one of the other servants is giving the lesson. Somebody else is kind of on lookout specifically for Justin and Jonathan to see any moment, just find any moment they're behaving and say, oh, thanks, Justin. I see you sitting nicely. And you're going to give a check mark. And they're going to be like, oh, okay, let me keep doing more of this. Whatever I just did right now got me a check mark. Let me do more of it. And so maybe implementing the reward chart might be helpful for them, but also for the whole class. What do you think? Okay. Okay, that sounds good.
So, for we just feel that it's a little bit different from the kids. We can reward them and they're gonna feel happy. But for with junior high, we feel, especially with the boys, I'm not sure. Also, we can apply it on the girls, but we can't talk about the girls. So, but for the boys, and we don't have only Jonathan and Justin. We have many, many Jonathan and Justin, and we don't know what to do with the class. For example, if we have 18 boys and we see that like 7 or 8 are acting out, so what shall we do? And meanwhile, if they are on their phones and we said just like keep your phone in your pocket, and if you can't, if you want us to help you or you can give us, we can take it till the end of the class. No, we will keep it. And then we find them how we look to, but sometimes they, oh, what did I do? So we try to talk to them in person, but is there any other ways? You know, I know with the kids different from elementary to junior high. So how can we make them, and sometimes we feel that they don't care to hear. I know that others, they want to hear the lesson, they want to be engaged in it, but some others, we feel that they don't care, especially after the COVID. So if there are any other ways to get them.
Yeah, and kids are going to do whatever is the most rewarding. So if there's 2 things to choose between, and one of them is more rewarding, they're going to choose that one. So if you're talking and giving the lesson, and there's no activity involved, or there's no playing involved, or there's no movement involved, but then they have a phone, which is incredibly rewarding to a child's brain. So much dopamine and gets released, right? So if they're choosing, if they have to choose between a boring lesson and their phone, they're going to choose their phone. So that means we have to make the lessons more fun. We have to make them engaged. We have to, if there is a Justin or Jonathan and there's a few of them, for example, we say, hey, Justin, come be my helper and help me do X, Y, and Z, so that we can maybe separate them. But that just means that we have to try to be, I think we have to try a little bit harder to be more engaging and to be more rewarding. If you implement a reward chart, oh, I noticed that you brought your phone today, Sally, but you chose not to play on your phone right now. Thank you so much. Check mark. Oh, I know. So now we're check marking for that behavior as well. So you're choosing not to play with your phone when you can. You see everyone else around you on their phone, and that might make one extra person be like, oh, okay, let me put my phone down. So I think that just means we need to be more rewarding because they are following whatever feels good. And there's nothing more rewarding to the child than their phone. So if that means that you want to talk to parents, that's something you guys get to decide on. If you want to talk to parents about how they feel about them not having their phones in the class, that's absolutely something you guys can decide on. That wouldn't be for me to make that decision. But if you're noticing that the phone is that big of an issue, then for sure you can have that conversation with parents if they feel comfortable with it. But I think I'm going to fall back on the rewarding here as well, that we must tell them from the beginning that we're going to reward them for good behavior, and then we must reward them for good behavior. And obviously you're not going to have toys in the toy box. Maybe you'll have gift cards, or maybe you'll have experiences, or maybe, obviously you'll cater it to your, whatever they say. You'll ask them in the first day. You'll say, what do you enjoy doing? What's your hobby? What do you enjoy playing with? And kind of look at all of their answers and see if there's something that feels affordable. Where do you drink coffee? Do you prefer coffee or Jamba Juice? Now we're starting to get an idea of what we can put in that prize box for them. But they are choosing the thing that's more rewarding, which means we have to become more rewarding ourselves in order for them to pay attention. Yeah, I wish there was like one specific thing I can say, do this, and that's it. It'll take care of the problem. But it's a little bit more nuanced than that. Yeah. On the table?
Just like for,
Sure.
just collect the phone before you start.
Sure.
You set this as a rule to the class to junior high, or this is a little bit for lower grades?
No, there's a lot of high schools out there that don't allow phones in the class, and they put it in a cubby. But when they walk in, if you guys want to, that's totally up to you. Yeah. No, I know, because what you're saying is that the phone is that big of an issue that it's like everyone in the classroom. So, of course, right, of course. Yeah, I know it's not going to make you the most popular. They're not going to love the rule, but if you are engaging and fun enough, then they'll forget that they don't have their phone because they're engaging in this fun and rewarding way. So it might be worth trying. Yeah.
So you highlighted at the beginning of your talk that it's very important to build up a genuine relationship with the kids. So what if they don't want it to do that? So they don't respond, and then in the opposite way, they give you attitude. They might be a little bit tough to you. So what we have to do at that point?
Yeah. And what grade?
It's junior high.
Okay. You guys have a tough group, huh? Okay. Yeah.
Because actually we've experienced that, especially after COVID. We had a couple girls, we've tried a lot with them, but they didn't want it to do.
Yeah. Right.
They don't want.
This might be a hard question for you. Do you know what their resistance is? Because there's always a reason, right? Do they think that you'll get them in trouble, or do they just find you boring, or do you know what it is? Do they think that if they should open up to you, you'll tell their parents? Do you know if there's some sort of a thing that's leading to that? It's a
No,
hard
because
question.
we've tried multiple things with them, different ways to approach them, but the ends, that the result, it's not that pleasant, They don't want it even to talk. If you feel like this girl, she doesn't feel well today, you come approaching her, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. So you're sure she's not, but she doesn't want it to share more. So
Sure.
we have to keep boundaries, and we have to respect what she wants.
Sure.
So at that point, we have to step back.
Yeah.
Other times, you want to just to open up a discussion. They don't want it to talk.
Right.
Like
Just a
this
discussion
kind of
about the lesson,
social-
for example?
Sorry?
Like a discussion about the lesson, for example?
No. Overall, a general discussion when we go
Yeah.
outside for outing or have a drink or whatever.
Oh, I see.
They all, very restricted in talking.
Got it. Yeah. Some kids are, they take a little bit of time to warm up. And sometimes we have to, just kind of like with a stranger that we meet somewhere, we start off with small talk. Oh, the weather, and oh, have you seen the game? And then we move into that. Then sometimes that's going to be the case. Some kids, hold their feelings close to their heart, and they don't feel safe and comfortable yet sharing that with us, and we'll respect that. I'm never here to try to pull a feeling or pull an experience, and I think you agree with that. So yeah, we can just keep it lighthearted and keep it at the area or the level they want to keep it. If they are comfortable with you being fun and playful, if they'll even take that, then that's where we'll go. If they, you know, and it's, you know, I don't know if this will always work, but sometimes I'll go up to some of the kids who I know I don't have a close relationship with because they're not in my class or I don't have a lot of involvement with them, and I'll just be like, hey, knock knock, and they'll be like, what, who's there? And I'll give them a joke, you know, and they'll be like, all right then, bye. And little moments like that where there's no pressure on them to open up, and it's the consistency of that time and time and time again where I'm meeting them where they're at, I'm not pushing their boundary, and I respect that they don't feel comfortable yet. And that's okay. Not everyone has to feel comfortable sharing their feelings yet. So we might just keep it a little more informal, just more jokey, or just like, hey, what's your favorite thing to do at school? Or what's your favorite subject? Or are you an artist? Or we just keep it really surface for them. And that could be a way to open the door. But yeah, you know, the relationship can sometimes take a while to build up to closeness. Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
It's tough, yeah. Yeah.
Same thing for junior high, 7 and
7th, 8th.
8.
Oh.
So you have mentioned that about involving the parents, especially with the phone. But I'm talking about the behavior, because sometimes you need it. You tried everything and it didn't work, and then you need to involve really the parents. My question is, how far we can go with the parents to talk about the kids? Because once you involve them, they are going to, of course, take an action, and then the kids are going to hate us and hate Sunday school, or they are going to be, you know, defensive or whatever kind of, you know, reactions when we talk to, because they don't like us anymore, like because we complain to the parents and maybe the dad or the mom took an action with them. Now we don't want to go for it, but they force us to do that. But also we cannot keep quiet, because again, you know, like we keep giving them many chances to correct, you know, what they do, and they are not changing. And you keep talking. You use different ways. One time you take them outside the class and you talk to them, and then one time you try to reward them. Sometimes you can talk to them in front of the kids, like other kids, saying you have to stop doing that. But you tried every way, and then it didn't work. So you are left with no other choice except involving the parents. Now, how can we involve the parents? Because this is the point, you know, I can just call and try to be nice, not to talk, but the message is not getting delivered, because if I'm trying not to tell everything, they don't get it, the parents don't get it. And if you tell them everything, it's going to be against the kids and they're going to hate us. How we can balance that?
Yeah, that's a tough question, because it's where you're trying to get both sides, right? You want both benefits. I think the simplest thing you can do is talk to the parent with the child present and be very brief. I'm noticing that Stephen really struggles to focus when we're in class. It's easy to get distracted when all of his friends are in there, and I understand that. That really makes a lot of sense to me, that he gets easily distracted. And we're going to have to come from a place of compassion and kindness. Children don't want to misbehave. They're not waking up in the morning and saying, you know what, I'm going to go to Sunday school today and I am just going to ruin his life. I'm going to make him so angry. They're not doing that. They actually have a really big feeling about something, and they don't know how to practice self-control because they're kids. Adults don't even know how to practice self-control sometimes, right? So a child is not intentionally trying to get under our skin or trying to disobey. They really don't have the skill to practice self-control. They don't have the skill to practice calmness. So if you are going to have a conversation with the parent, there must be some compassion in that conversation about, I know that it's really hard to focus and pay attention, and I know that it's easy to get distracted. And sounds like that's something that's really hard for him. I get it. And so you're kind of you're implying it, right? And he's sitting there with you so that you're not doing it behind his back. He knows what you've said. And there isn't kind of this power differential where he's, you know, he now hates you behind your back because he doesn't know exactly what you said because mom translated it in a different way. And so you might just say that if you want to talk to the parent. I would probably keep it there I keep saying if you were to talk to the parent because I probably wouldn't, but if you wanted to, I would probably do it with the child present. Because it sounds like for your guys' class, it's really hectic. It sounds like there's a lot happening and a lot to manage. How many servants are there?
A lot.
Oh, there's a lot of servants? And how many students? 17
Like
students?
15 to 20. Yeah.
Okay, like 18. And what's a lot? How many servants? Oh, okay. No, that's reasonable. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you guys were co-ed. Okay, sorry. Okay.
The only thing was that, like, sometimes the parents are coming, and then there was a situation happen at home already, and they are, for all of them, they are up to the end, you know, like the kids and the parents,
Sure.
and they come full, and then I add something like more fire on it, like by, not, okay,
Yeah.
let's say like on a nice way, like I'm not gonna say it on a way of complaining on them, but even sharing my feedback on the kids, while the dad just took an action with him or took his phone, you know, or did something with him, and I'm adding something on it, you know, and saying, you know, he was not, you know, doing that today, and then because it happened to me, you know, like one time I'm just saying something, and then the parents was actually waiting for my word, and then he started, you know, saying something to his son, and then it turned to like I did something wrong, you know, like by sharing that. It was in front of the kid, but sharing that at that moment because you were already full, you know, and then you don't know what. I didn't know what happened at home after that.
Right.
So.
That's such a good point. We don't know what they're going through. Yeah, we don't know what some of these kids are going through at home. The truth is, if you have a kid who's really, I think, misbehaving from a place of, it looks like it's coming from a place of anger, happy, healthy kids don't go around misbehaving, right? Or torturing us. So if we're seeing misbehavior, I think we really have to look at it through a lens of compassion. We have to be really compassionate that children are born with all the same feelings we have, with absolutely no skill in how to deal with their feelings. So now they're anxious in the class or worried because you changed the style around and they don't know how to deal with it, so they yell and they scream and they hit. Or a kid is having a hard time with their best friend, and them and their best friend are not friends anymore, and they feel really sad on the inside, and they don't know how to deal with it, so they just shut down. And we look at it and we're like, why aren't you participating? Why aren't you paying attention? And we don't actually know what's going on, but they have a big, strong feeling that's leading to their behavior, and so we really want to show empathy for the feeling and for the behavior, because we mess up too. We make mistakes too. And that's actually, I think, the last slide, is that we are going to make mistakes. But we can also recover from our mistakes. We're going to make mistakes with them. We're going to yell at them because we're so fed up. We're going to raise our voice because we're so exhausted from having to manage 18 kids. And when we mess up, because we will, we're going to come back in humility and apologize and model what that looks like and say, I'm really sorry, I shouldn't have yelled at you. I should actually practice managing my own feelings. I'm mad at you for not managing your feelings. I did the same thing, right? So humility is, I think, important here. But that's such a good point, though. I love what you're saying, because it's so true. It's giving them the benefit of the doubt that we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing a lot of the disruptive behavior for the kids and how to manage. I have a question that's actually opposite of that, we have a couple of maybe new students or arrivals or have changed their environments and have moved. And those kids are completely quiet and withdrawn. They don't want to participate in the field trips and activities, so it's difficult for them to make friends or open up. So how do you manage those kids?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm going out of my way to find opportunities to reward them. What you'll notice is I have like 5 things that I do, and I run through them forever until I die. I don't have anything other than these 5 things. So rewarding them. So I might just say, I'm looking around. Remember, there's one servant on the board giving check marks out. Oh, Sophia, I see you sitting really nicely and quietly. Thank you. And now I'm just letting her know, like, hey, I'm on your side. I'm on your side here. And so she's going to probably recognize me as an ally, and that's going to be the start of us building a relationship. So I'm going to reward her. One of the things that I do, I actually do I do a 10-week series. I do a 10-week series on the A just by itself. I threw it in here on one slide and I just kept going. But I find the A on this slide to be so incredibly important. So the A is acknowledging the child's feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. So I would probably, every once in a while, let's say the rest of the class is chaotic and you just see Sophia sitting there. I'd go up to her and be like, oh, you're so confused about what's going on here. You've never seen anything like this before. And I just start making comments to her that's acknowledging her thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. If the class, for example, is doing an activity like you're coloring in a page, what grade are you guys? 6th, okay. Oh, okay, so you're not coloring in a page. Whatever your activity is, and you want them to, I don't know, make a poster of whatever they did. You'll say, oh, you're using the purple markers. Okay. Yeah, and now I'm just observing her. Now I'm just showing her, oh, I see you. You're important enough for me to observe you. That, to a child, makes them feel loved. Anytime a child feels like you see them and accept them for what you see, loved immediately. So if you just start making observational statements about her behaviors, or what you think might be going on for her, oh, you're really confused about what's going on here, or this is chaos you've never seen before. You know, you're just kind of making these statements. You wanted to sit on the left side of the room today. I'll say it about anything. Whatever. Oh, you got that peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I don't expect her to talk back to me. And I never will. And eventually she will. You do that enough times, she's gonna be like, yeah, I did. You know, and so we have to start slow. It kind of reminds me of whatever somebody over here asked the question, or talked about how we meet them where they're at in such a small way to let them know we see them, we observe them, they're important and they matter to us, and we take it at their pace. And eventually they'll start to talk a little bit more and open up. Yeah, but rewarding is going to be paramount.
Anybody else? Okay. Can't thank her enough, seriously. I personally learned a lot. It's hard to teach an old dog a new trick, but I learned a lot. Thank you very much. Or old cat, she said. Okay. Thank you very much. So we have a couple of announcements very quick, Jonathan. Once I told you about the child Christmas thing, you have 2 seconds.
Hi, I just wanted to remind you guys about the Operation Christmas Child. Cecilia already sent a message on the WhatsApp group with all the links and the information. Just wanted to remind you guys to remind the parents and the children and to encourage them to donate new things, because it has to be new or else they'll throw away anything. School supplies, clothes, toys, and it has to fit like in a small box. That's it. Thank you.
The second thing is Monica. أنت هنا لسه؟ Okay. Monica had some connection with St. Marina, so they're doing a Kahoot for kids every day on 2 level or maybe 3 level. So because of the time, and she forgot to bring her computer, but we'll send it on the group chat as on WhatsApp, and then you look at it and see if it is good for. But you need the parents' cooperation, of course. But as Dr. Mariano was talking about rewarding, this should be rewarding big time. So we need to be involved with read a small passage and then Kahoot, and then they keep scoring and comparing to other kids, or so we can reward them every week, every month, every book. It depends on their age, but we'll send you these links on the website, on the servant group, and we'll see where to go from there. Any question? Thank you for coming. اتفضلوا نصلي. Finally, Lord, through the intercession of Saint Mary, Archangel Michael, Pope Carolus, all the saints and martyrs, you please in the beginning forgive us our sins and listen to our prayers when we say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespass. Give those who trespass against us, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And through Christ Jesus our Lord. For thine kingdom, power, and glory, and forever. Amen. Thank you, Shabab.